Hey everybody, so I wanted to make a video kind of explaining what it is that I do with this pinstriping stuff. I know you guys have been sort of following me on the social media, and I kind of wanted to give you guys sort of a little explanation of what it is that I do. So pinstriping is a hand-painted art form. Basically line art. You'll find it on a lot of hot rods and lowriders, and old coach wagons, and safes, and I mean it's basically decorative line art that's done hand painted with a paintbrush and paint. So we have a couple of different styles of paintbrushes that we use. This is called a sword brush because of its shape. Shaped somewhat like a sword. You can use these for long straight lines because they can hold a tremendous amount of paint, and or traditional designs, traditional or old school designs such as this one. You can do scroll designs with them as well, but it is known to be quite difficult. So you really have to master that if you want to use one of these brushes for that. Here we have the King 13, the Todd Hansen model. Those are manufactured by Mac Brush Company. We have the Von Dago. This is a Quadruple Zero Pro Series, which I just got, so I haven't used it, and it's still nice and fluffy. And I appreciate that, Dago. These are nice. Both are made with squirrel hair, and as you can see, the hair itself is quite long. As I said before, it's kind of so you can hold a tremendous amount of paint and pull some really long lines before you have to reload the brush. Here we have some scroll brushes, which I use. I think I did use this particular one for this design. This one is also made by Mac, I do believe. It's a custom shop, Black Magic or something like that. This one is both synthetic hair and squirrel hair. And what makes these unique is they have a round ferrule, which allows you to make these nice turns without having to spin the brush in your fingers. And you would hold them up straight up like that to kind of make that happen, whereas the other ones you hold at an angle to get these lines, these straight lines. And if you were to want to make a turn, you have to literally spin it as such. So here we have the Turner Dragonfly. These are fairly new, and this one's made out of synthetic hair, which is kind of a stiffer brush, but very useful for multiple uses. You could do small lettering, big lettering with them, depending on their size, outline letters, or some designs with them. Here we have another squirrel hair scroll brush, kind of a tongue twister. This is the Kafka. These are really nice as well, and I prefer the ones with the longer hair. For some reason they're easier for me to manipulate. But these are just a few examples of the scroll brushes and the sword brushes. There are also some called daggers, which have the taper on both sides, which I have yet to acquire. And those are called daggers for that reason, because they're not shaped like a sword. That is my brush box there that holds all my brushes. Here is another example of scroll pinstriping, which kind of utilizes these circles, circular motion. Some call it Southwest scroll, this particular style, or Kafka style, depending on who you ask. Here is an example of a traditional or old school one that I did. And over here is another example of traditional or old school that my friend Gary did. and he traded me this for something that I sent him. I think he lives out in California. So that is a real nice example of traditional pinstriping, or a traditional symmetrical design. Here is the paint that I use, which is One-Shot Sign Painter's lettering enamel. I like to transfer these into these nice PET bottles. PET is a type of plastic. It helps to keep it from skinning over. And generally, when I go to do some work, I put them in these Dixie cups. I squirt a little bit in the Dixie cup and kind of keep it at an angle to where it gives me a nice little puddle there in the corner, versus laying it flat and it drying up a little faster on me. An additive that I like to use to allow the paint flow a little better is called Pinatrol. I add about 10 drops of this stuff into each little cup load, and it kind of helps my paint come off the brush easier and leaves less brush stroke kind of marks afterwards. So that's something that I like to add directly to the paint and mix it all in prior to any thinning out. And this is my main thinner that I like to use, odorless mineral spirits. You can also use lacquer thinner to thin the paint, but they both kind of thin in different ways. I use the lacquer thinner a lot to clean the brush. This is kind of like my primary cleaner, and this is kind of like my secondary cleaner. This seems to break up the paint kind of into little flakes, and this seems to really clean it off well. And after I'm done cleaning everything off, I dip my brushes in motor oil to preserve the hairs, and it keeps the paint from drying up and breaking your hairs off. Some people prefer to buy actual brush preservative oil, which is probably smarter, but I'm cheap and I heard that works fine, so I went for Walmart brand motor oil. So I hope that helps. I know some people said they thought what it is that I do is vinyl or something, but I assure you every single one of those lines was hand painted with a paint brush and one-shot paint. So I hope that helps, and I appreciate you guys following me. It's been a lot of fun, and hopefully I get better as I practice and time goes by. So we'll leave you with a nice shot of Gary's beautiful panel. Talk to you later, guys.